Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is the Loud Sound Epicenter podcast. I'm your host, Ace, and it's good to be back behind the desk. It's been a little while. I want to start off with some announcements, and then we'll get into some retrospective type content. It's been a little while, and a lot of things have been happening, but for the sake of replay, gang, we'll get right into it. So, as you guys know, this has been a very busy year. And even though there's been less content with the channel, Twitter has been booming, IRL events booming. And of course, next year is going to be the election. So you can probably assume we'll be a little bit more active. Maybe not so much on the political front, though, even though that's the context. There might be some Gen Z type stuff that may surprise people. So nothing's really for sure just yet, but I want to just plant that idea in people's minds. And then, because I mean, this year was almost the beginning of what the channel was supposed to be. And I don't know. Let's save that for a little bit, because how about the announcements? The announcements. So, as you guys know, we do things a little bit different over here. We do not so much the Curtis Yarvin political theory, history content, apostolic majesty stuff. Instead, it's supposed to be pop culture, Gen Z friendly, and then kind of the intellectual side of Twitter. So with that in mind, this year, if you noticed, the content has been less political and more so in that context. But given all that, I think for January, it's not a sure thing just yet. I think we're going to have a new person come on the show. And I don't want to say who it is, because people might unsubscribe in a very large amount because of the specific person. So I'm not going to say it. It's not even a sure thing yet. So let's just save that for a later time. This was somebody I met over the Arizona trip, which we can get into. But this is somebody who's going to kind of wedge in the philosophy content that I've been procrastinating on. So if anybody has any doubts, just remember, I've been slacking, and this is going to be a person that's going to help the channel, okay? So it's a cooperation, okay? It's not just a personal thing. There has to be somebody that gets the show up and running. So bear that in mind if there's any doubt, okay? No trepidation for our new potential guest. So that's for philosophy content, okay? In case anybody thinks we kind of do the same thing over and over, this is like a Scott Greer fan channel. Rest assured, I want to have some serious academic content, and this person can provide. So that's probably January, February-ish, if I had to guess. We'll see. So that's something that's planned for next year. And then January 6th, a very fitting date, there's going to be another LA event hosted by Filthy Armenian. I went to his first, I think that was his debut event near the downtown area. And some people are like, who is this guy? What is this sketchy stuff? I've never heard of this before. Listen, this is why you need me behind the desk. These people are cool, as far as I can tell. And pulling up at some of these things, it's a lot of fun, and it's very conducive to this channel. So, like I said earlier, the IRL events are really taking off, and they're probably going to ramp up during the election year. Not political type events, maybe adjacent, but I mean to say that this is not an endorsement of certain 2017 era rallies. This is not an endorsement of like political marching. This is a different type of IRL event. And I think they've really been taken off probably since post-summer of 2023. So when I say IRL events are really booming, I don't want this to be a call to action, a prosecution, law enforcement type thing where I'm on the record endorsing all IRL events that take place in 2024 in the context of the election. That is not what this is. This should never be used against me in a court of law. This is just IRL pop culture stuff, okay? Remember, this is not a political show. This is not a political thing. We are Zoomers. We are pop culture types. We're art critics. And all of that marching, MAGA, Proud Boys, what have you, dissident right, we're over here doing something a little different, okay? So that kind of keeps us safe from the law. It also is just accurate, okay? Because we're just nice, fun-loving movie critics, and I think that's a lot closer to where Gen Z is relative to all this Curtis Yarvin bookworm librarian stuff. So, it's kind of a double purpose there. It keeps us out of trouble, and then this is really where we're supposed to go anyway, this kind of art field that's developing after some of these LA type events. So that's that. January 6th, anybody in the California area might want to check it out. I'll be active about it on Twitter. And this is like the second-ish kind of thing. I know we went to the Ace Theater, appropriately named Ace Theater, for the Barry Weiss Free Press event. That one was a little normie, but very similar to this Arizona trip. Some of these normie events, you meet some interesting people. So that's what this channel is about, kind of that eclectic merging of the audiences that Wendell talked about, merging of different parts of the dissident right, and then finding some of that amicability. Because a lot of people don't want to do that job. A lot of the groypers, they're out there, they're very pugnacious, and I think it's more set for certain types. But for me, I think we got a lot of people coming around to this channel, and I think we're going to have some people here for the long haul. It might be a little confusing what exactly we're doing over here, but we're going to try to clarify that throughout the stream. Again, this is just the announcement, so that's the January 6th. This January 6th event we're endorsing. Not so much, for the sake of potential prosecution. Everything before January 6th, 2024, we're not so sure of. For the sake of the law and anybody tuning in, we're not so sure exactly what happens on other times of January 6th. For this event, I think a lot of us are going to have some fun. And so open invite for anybody who has. I don't have my tickets, but I'm very close to the area, and I've been having a lot of fun in LA. A lot of these IRL events have been there. So some of that East Coast energy is finally coming to California. And to be a witness of it, I think this is really where the channel can start to take off and start to give you a kind of a visible, personal example of what some of the stuff we'd like to do. A lot of it is kind of hearsay, thinking out loud, like this stream, but some of these LA events that are happening and reporting back from them. This is what's possible. This is what's possible for 2024. We don't have to keep up with the political news, current events, Nikki Haley, Vivek, all this pop culture stuff, LA West Coast culture, doing the hippie legacy correctly. That's more what we like to do over here on Loud Sound Epicenter. So that's an event that's going to be happening very quickly, in less than a month, probably less than half a month more closely. January 6th, and this philosophy interview. And then we'll probably get Thomas back on the show in January. I know he's a very busy guy, been traveling like me. And so we got to bring the guy back. Some people, I think, were nostalgic for some of those movie casual streams. We'll probably have something like that back. That'll probably be January too. So I want these announcements to be as transparent as I can. They're not really, set yet. So it's kind of hard to announce prematurely something that's not even scheduled. But just so you think we're not slacking over here. And then the other thing that's not official, but would be kind of nice given some of the Twitter stuff, I think we're going to try to get James Kirkpatrick, or maybe known as Gregory Hood from ANRAN, interviewed here on the show. And I think we might talk about the 90s, but then also squeeze in some of the Twitter stuff, because he's also been very partisan online and very supportive of Nick, of all people. And this is a guy who goes back pretty much like Spencer, back to the old days, and back when the dissidents were probably less young and probably less open to merging their audiences with the young crowd, that kind of 4chan migration. He's somebody who I would expect to just, flag wave for his boss, Jared Taylor, and then basically do nothing beyond that. But he's somebody who's been very surprising on the timeline, very supportive of a lot of the Zoomers. And it takes a lot to do that. Some other characters around the sphere have some difficulty extending an olive branch to the youth and maybe don't like some of the jabs that they get from the Zoomers. But people like Kirkpatrick, it's been very cool seeing him. He's been giving some interesting speeches in Tennessee. And then on the timeline, very amicable. So that archetype is very precious. We really need to value that type of person, because a lot of these millennials, the first chance they get to signal to their audience, and then you young guys just want to call people names, and you're not a serious movement. What have you done lately? We've been around longer than you. And then you got James Kirkpatrick taking it on the chin, saying, look, these Zoomers, they're good people. There's good people on both sides, as one might say. So it's really cool to see. And I was kind of skeptical of James Kirkpatrick, but some of the pagan type posting was a little much for me. But recently I think he's really come into his own, and he's really, the James Kirkpatrick coin has really been skyrocketing recently. So you know what? I think this is a good channel to hash that out, especially since he was so open to talking about the 90s in a different context. So another potential guest, another first timer on the show. That'll probably be for January too. Again, not official. So we'll see. But those are just some ideas for the channel. If people want to keep coming back, maybe people have missed some of the past ones. I think that one would be really something. Okay. We need some of these humble guys out there that are friendly to the Zoomers. And then, of course, I like to be the more diplomatic soldier in the Zoomer battalion. So, I'd like to extend that into the next year. So I think those are all our announcements. And then we can get started on the retrospective. We're already past the 10-minute point. All right. Well, we'll check what's going on in the chat. But yeah, things have been going all right. I know the show hasn't been super active. This year, the show hasn't been super active. Sorry about that. But just some private things, behind the scenes, professional stuff. And the fact that this is the first year where we kind of distance ourselves from the political stuff. I think it was 2022. The midterm stuff, we did that episode with Barack Obama. That it seemed like we were still stuck in the political cycle, Pat Buchanan, Sam Francis. But I think with this year was the beginning. Around February, we started to kind of veer off more so into the pop culture territory. And I think that was more explicit. Before, everybody wants to be Nick, Scott Greer, all these current events type streamers. And this year, I think I finally started to kind of take the pop culture stuff a little bit more explicitly. And, it's funny. The year started with me getting suspended from Twitter. And then the year ends, October-ish post onward. That's when we started to do Twitter stuff IRL. So a very fitting year. We got suspended. It was funny. We got back on Twitter. And then things just started taking off. Ban the ADL, Keith Woods, Joel Davis, Thomas. They all started doing stuff. IRL, online. So this was really the year of kind of the more humble, diplomatic, dissident right people making waves online, offline. The IRL stuff taking off. So it's been very encouraging. I think that's a very consistent year with all of those things happening at the same time. And then meanwhile, some of the millennials still pretty partisan, still pretty anti-Zoomer. And that's too bad, because I see all the people I like kind of busy with being productive. So that's kind of expected. There was a lot of jabbing with certain factions of the dissident right. And then, of course, right in smack in the middle of it, what was that, during the summer? While you have kind of the shadow of ban the ADL, Elon Musk accelerating on Twitter, reacting to some of our stuff on our corner, some of the spaces with Sam Parker, Lucas Gage, Nick, Autumn Groiper, and then Keith Woods and Joel. Keith going to the U.S., I think, for the first time, and then giving his speech. Ban the ADL, if I didn't say that already. All that stuff happening, and then kind of in the shadow, you have all these these dramas with Academic Agent, and it's just no, look, we already did that stream. We don't have to rehash old lore, but I feel like we're actually addressing the boomer truth. We're actually putting that thesis into action with some of these younger types, and some of the people that are closer to the boomer age are struggling to keep up and taking snipe shots on the timeline, which is too bad. I still like these guys. I'm friendly with some of them. I don't think some of them like me so much. I think they probably assume I'm wrapped up in a movement that caters to my age. But, the whole point of the boomer true thesis is we're supposed to be diplomatic and not be so hostile to the younger guys, even if they fall for certain things or aren't totally on the same page as some of these millennials. But it seems like some older folks would rather infight, extend the Civil War, and a lot of the other people are just kind of doing their thing on the timeline, bashing back, and then being more successful, making waves with of all ages, merging those audiences. Meanwhile, some people are just kind of sticking with their audience, millennials, dissident right, some of the BAP adjacent audience. A lot of that stuff, there's not a lot of overlap. It's just kind of the same fan base from 2019 onward. Meanwhile, a lot of the Zoomers are really getting the older folks, the Zoomer age demographic all rekindled into some of these, Sam Parker, Lucas Gage spaces. But then on the timeline, also pushing the Overton window to the more normie direction. And so I kind of see a big eclectic Zoomer friendly movement on the horizon, but some people don't like that so much because it's a number of things, a number of labels. Some people are labeling it third worldist. Some of it is a little too pro-Palestine, a little too anti-millennial, not giving enough respect to some of the guys that have been around here longer. I don't know. Sometimes the people who have been around here longer have overstayed their welcome, maybe. And maybe some of the young guys are figuring out some of the lore better than the older folks. So what I'm saying is the boomer truth is being addressed. It's being addressed by the Zoomers, and these guys that want to still act like they got big audiences and they can wield their influences. Maybe not so much into this new year. Maybe some of the younger guys are actually going to be ahead of the curve, and that's how people get left behind when they think that their old timer wisdom is going to be the thing that keeps them from becoming old news. A lot of people don't really care. A lot of people kind of like some of these young bucks setting the tone. So, a lot of these people, a lot of people are more hostile than others. I don't usually get partisan on the timeline. I let people stay where they are. But that's just something I've noticed. Some of the younger people, I think, have better instincts than some of the millennials. So, it is what it is. We'll see what side people want to pick. But I am very sympathetic to a lot of the Zoomers, especially during a year where they've been pretty active. So it is what it is. We'll see. We'll see what kind of drama comes about in 2024. I think we maxed out enough for 2023. Yeah, I didn't expect this to be the year to fall out with AA, but it is what it is. I'll still be keeping an eye on what he does, and we'll still be friendly with some of the adjacent types. But it is just funny. That was another, probably the biggest thing with this channel. So, maybe it is worth bringing up again. That was something that happened in the middle, early and latter 2023 was this big drama. So me falling out with the AA sphere, and then Jefferson Davis, Josh Neal, Keith Woods, Nick. Those are some of the audiences that emerged into the mainstream fold. Elon Musk, the ban the ADL, and then some of the geopolitical stuff. So kind of maybe those some of the chapters with this year. Some of those audiences merging, and then some audiences clinging to their older roots. It is what it is. The young people, the young get smarter. So we'll see. Is that about all I was gonna say? See, a lot of this is a little loose, so I apologize if this isn't like good content, but just to rehash some of 2023, year of the Zoomer, year of some of the audiences merging. We're growing out of some of the more political circles, some of the more current event circles, and some of the older circles. And I think that's going to continue into 2024. And, a lot of these things are kind of just like personal things. These are kind of vague, gray, dissident right lines, and people migrate from different spheres. But, just to give this episode kind of some context, that's where I think a lot of Gen Z is going. It's kind of merging out with the old crowd and more so with some of these under 30-year-old types. I don't think Keith Woods is technically a Zoomer, but, Zoomer friendly, Zoomer adjacent. And then you have a lot of these younger guys out there pushing the Overton window. So it's cool to see that's the winning team. But that's that. I think we can move on. We can get back to the chat. I see we're getting some more viewers, so maybe I should just keep talking. Maybe I should just keep doing what we're doing here because, I wanted to try to do a retrospective of some of the Arizona stuff. Met a lot of cool people. I guess, yeah, now that the viewer count is higher, this is a good opportunity to kind of max out the people that are here. I want to thank everybody that I met, some of which for the first time in Arizona. A lot of cool people. For those that know, what is it? Iggy Jr. I don't want to butcher this name. Iggy Normus Jr. over on Twitter. Or let me share over here. Because a lot of nice folks. A lot of nice folks over on. Got to relearn how to use this now. A lot of nice folks from Twitter and then meeting for the first time IRL. On his YouTube channel, he was walking around AmFest. I know AmFest, again, is kind of a normie type event. But again, you'd be surprised some of the dissident types that are gallivanting in the halls of Turning Point campus conservative types. So Iggy, want to give a big shout out. Go to his channel. You can see some of us hanging around the Turning Point crowd. And it was good times. There was a lot of cool people. A lot of people from Instagram, a lot of people from Twitter. And it was just nice to kind of see everybody in one place. There was one instance, a friend of mine said that there was literally like just about everybody in one single room. And this was kind of similar to when I first went to Ameren, and it was this very surreal experience because everything that I saw online, Ameren, Countercurrents, VDare, they're all in one big room. Now, granted, they're very older, and so this was a lot cooler because we were closer in age. But, there's just there's like an aura with being in the same room. Like the first time I went to AFPAC, very similar situation. My mind is just not used to that much Zoomer energy all in one location. So that's why I encourage people to do the IRL events, even if some of these are a little more normie friendly. We're not there for the speakers. We're not there to kind of gish gallop with business cards and Turning Point ambassadors. We're here to see our friends. And we saw a lot of them today. Valley Zoomer. We saw Zola. We saw Hoplite. A lot of the Paul Allen crew. The Paul Allen fans are out there in force. You think they're not there. You think they're kind of in the shadows doing nothing, right? They just they do the Howard Stern, Morton Downey Jr. gig. This isn't really palatable. But actually, the Paul Allen battalion is out in force, okay? You may not expect them. You may even be kicked out of establishments due to their presence. So you got to be careful. These are the Zoomers that have the vitality. People talk about vitality amongst the millennial crowd. I saw that in full force at the Republicans for National Renewal event. And I wouldn't be anywhere else given that event. So, a lot of people say the Paul Allen crew, they're a little too rambunctious. These are young kids. A lot of these people aren't even 20 years old. I didn't even realize. I'm like the old guy, and I'm supposed to be the people that people can't tell how old I am. Meanwhile, these guys are like completely developed groypers, just harassing people, harassing the campus conservatives out in force. You can never get a millennial to do something like that. You can never get one of these guys that is talking trash in the spaces online. You would never do that to me in real life. Yes, they will. Yes, they did, because that's exactly what happened. So, these guys, you got to love them, okay? You got to love them. They're just completely all over the place, like TMNT. They're just completely overwhelming everybody around them of all ages. They are kind of the center of the room. So, that was really cool. A bunch of cool guys, and I want to give my thank yous because we were kind of all over the place, migrating to different friend groups. Very, very very something, just kind of migrating to different groups. But it was cool. It was cool to see everybody, and it was just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to do that because a lot of these events, there's big gaps. The Turning Point has SAS in the summer, and then CPAC stuff early in the year. So it's just very cool to when you finally do get to show up, and then you see everybody all in one place, and they're fired up, and they're completely ready to manifest their Twitter persona into real space. That's a very cool thing. So it was very cool. Shout out to Paul Allen. Shout out to the Paul Allen Battalion. Twitter Spaces IRL. We really enjoy seeing that. And maybe it's a little juvenile, but hey, if we didn't have these guys, it would literally be all these buttoned up campus conservative types, and we can't have that. Okay, we had once acknowledged that these people are too stuffy, stodgy conservatives, but as soon as a couple Zoomers come in and have a little fun, all of a sudden the suit is exhumed back on, and we have to be very serious and very political. It's just not me. It's just not me. I gotta stretch my legs a little bit, and we gotta be a little bit more fun. But hey, that's kind of the theme of this channel, is not so book heavy, not so academic or even conservative, more so this kind of chaos Zoomer energy, this very, cannot be restrained kind of asylum patients, kind of all over Arizona, all over downtown, inside Amfest, inside R&R. You just can't. It's like an invisible force that you can never truly vet, because it's a psychological thing. The Paul Allen phenomenon is psychological. You don't know who's really a Paul Allen orbiter and who's just your average Turning Point type. That is the power of the Zoomers. So anyways, that's enough. We're losing some of our older folks. We're taking a victory lap a little too much here. So I'm gonna lose older people if I keep talking like that. So, we love them, but I just this weekend was like our weekend. So I apologize for being a little too partisan, but it is what it is. Was there anything else kind of there was just so many, maybe not groypers, but just kind of these people in these gray areas that are kind of migrating. Those are that's kind of the demographic that a lot of AA type people have. And I think when those people start to kind of see the action that's going on Twitter, some of the stuff with Autumn Groyper, some of these Sam Parker, Lucas Gage, Samira type spaces, I think that's when they kind of start to see that it's the Zoomers that are really pushing this. A lot of people that are younger, that are kind of tech savvy. And it's kind of that 2016 alt-right era where you have all these young bucks doing all the editing, pushing the Overton window. And when it's those guys that are all the fun and hopefully showing up to all these IRL events, because if they don't show up, it's going to be these millennials, and then we're going to lose our influence. So that's why people got to show up. IRL spaces like the Paul Allen crew, the fact that they can be deployed at some of these normie events, that's what we got to, it's got to keep happening when these IRL events are there. Don't stay home just because it's a normie event. But anyway, that's where a lot of some of these younger guys that I met over the weekend, I think a lot of them are very, very amicable. Like I was talking to this one guy, he was checking out Pete Canona's before I think he met Thomas. And it was like this Mises guy. He was asking me about Mises because that was in my Instagram. And this guy, dude, I talked to this guy for like 5 hours. This guy was just super amicable, like didn't know all the lore, but we were kind of hashing it out. We were talking about the Groypers, talking about everything happening in the dissident right. And this guy was just completely open, friendly, minimal ego, no Twitter beef type stuff. And you just wouldn't really expect some of that stuff. Some of the people I talk to on Twitter, maybe it gets a little hostile sometimes, but then I meet them in real life and there's like no drama. Everybody's cool. And, look, some of these younger guys, I think they can do that. They have that potential to do that. Some of the millennials, a lot of them take it to heart. I bet if I went up to certain older people, it would be, hey, don't you remember what you said type of thing. And it's like, what? It really matters to them that much. But some of these younger guys, I feel like there was this one guy, I think the last thing I messaged him on Twitter was like it was something about like the communist he was posting about like communism and how some of the Zoomers were becoming a little pro-communist because of some of the friendly things said about Stalin. And there was one other thing I like messaged him about that wasn't very friendly. But then I meet him and he's like super cool, basically dropping like Thomas tier citations. Now, granted, he's more of like a libertarian type guy, so we don't really agree on much. But it's like that's my kind of guy. That's the kind of archetype that needs to be normalized in some of these spaces, because a lot of people are just partisan. They're just straight up clicked up, and it's kind of a top-down dynamic where one millennial tells you that these people are no good, and then you never give them the time of day. The Twitter spaces are supposed to democratize all that. It's supposed to completely decentralize that dynamic and get us a fair shake in some of those spaces, when we're not in other spaces, pushing the Overton window, mind you. But that was something that happened during this Arizona trip, is a lot of these libertarian types were very friendly. And so it was kind of like that alt-right libertarian pipeline during 2017 or 16-ish. That was cool to see. It's cool to see that dynamic is still around. Those people aren't completely clicked up and saying, you guys are young, you guys aren't being productive, too partisan. These guys are just kind of rolling with it. And, it's cool to see that there is still some of that amicability. Even after all the drama, all the Twitter beat, there are still people that you can just talk to. So, hey, diplomacy is winning. Diplomacy is winning. We're going to try to extend that into the next year. All right. We're going to, now that we have some of our people out there in different factions, let's try to see them in real space, depoliticize them, get into the more pop culture type commentary, and then we'll really have our eclectic movement over here. So, all right. That's enough. That's enough for things. A 30-minute point with all that. All right. We'll see. That's fine. That's all right. We can finally catch up with the chat over here. Sorry about that. But just, it was a fun trip. It's fun. Arizona's fun. And another IRL event among many this year. Hopefully to many more next year. So, hey, if anybody has any doubts with some of these normie events, or there's something nearby, pull up some of Iggy's people in chat, Paul Allen, Dissident Right, Twitter people, all that stuff. We're going to try to really, the Red Scare crowd thinks they have the monopoly because they live in New York and they host those Dime Score events. No longer, okay? We got the West Coast Battalion out in force, and we got to keep extending that onward, because, it's not just a one-off thing. It shouldn't be just this thing that if you happen to be following a certain Twitter account, that's the only audience that can really pull up to these things. We really want this stuff to really build up here. And so I think that was the beginning with this year, and it's going to be continuing onwards. So this is the announcement. This is the announcement that kind of stuff is going on, to kind of announce that it's even taking place. And then hopefully some of our people can show up. And we don't, it doesn't have to be completely like the Paul Allen rambunctious dynamic, but it can be also just in general, show up in general. Okay. That's something that we could be happy to see. So, all right. Hey, there she is, conservative May. See, that's what I'm talking about. I think I said that in the Twitter space. You need people like us that are kind of migrating to these different spheres, because we're the people that make the content. They're in the echo chamber. They are audience captured. They have a very select demographic. The people that migrate to different spheres, AA, Dissident Right, Pika known as Thomas, those are the guys that are seeing where everybody's shining, and then who's kind of falling behind, getting caught with their age and their audience. That's where you can really get some perspective on like who's doing well, who's falling off. And, again, I love the millennials. They're social. They graduated before social media took off, so they're more normal. I wish I could say the same with my group. But these millennials are just too clicked up. The click matters too much to them. And it's like me, I have multiple clicks. I have multiple, not to make it sound like that, not to make it sound too, I love everybody, but the kind of hive mind is a little less stronger, specifically because there are so many hives. Maybe that's one of the main reasons. But you need these diplomatic types. You need some of these more friendlier, less partisan types, like May, like this guy I met who was part of like the Mises crowd. These people are like the gold standard. These people just get it. They're very patient. And, you know, some people might even think it's an invisible demographic because all they see is the kind of partisan ratioing 4chan veterans. But there's people like us out there. There's people like us that would really like to just see everybody get along, specifically the ones that are pulling up to these events. So that's that. All right. No more procrastinating. That's enough. 2024 is the year that we actually do AA's thesis. We're doing all of the boomer truth and not just talking about it and then following that kind of behavior. We're going to actually kind of be friendly to the Zoomers. We're going to extend this outward onto the timeline into real space. IRL events are continuing. Red Scare strategy done correctly, minus the degeneracy. All of that stuff. All of that stuff. The IRL stuff. I feel like I've said the same thing like over and over again. So this is probably going to be a little rough for replay gang. But anyways, we can move on to the chat because this is an interactive show, and so we gotta. And I'm not muted, so I'm glad that whole spiel was not just a 30-minute for nothing. So, all right, we can get started here. But it's good to see you guys again. All right, it's good to see the chat back. It's been a little while, and now's the time. Now's the time to ask questions. Now that I'm looking at the chat. Excuse me. But it's been very fun. It's been very fun. More IRL events, more IRL, more Zoomer stuff. And we're going to try to get the channel into a more pop culture thing. We're going to actually try to have some more books that are catered to that. And so we're not just going to be on here talking about like the French Revolution and Napoleon. We're going to try to actually be true to the merits of the channel. And so I think we're going to have some more stuff. And then also might be a little something, might be a little music type thing associated with this channel next year. Might be a little, you know how Thomas has his little not the mob meetups, you know, maybe not doing a little something in 2024. Again, no details, not official, but just throwing that out there. It's still not official yet, but we're talking about IRL events. We're talking about bringing people out into real space. Thomas has his mob. We're going to try to do that. And, you know, I'm kind of an amateur at this stuff. I usually let other people behind the wheel. But, hey, just keep that in mind. You know, people that are kind of privy to the Shieldings events, Old Glory Club, maybe we're going to have a little something similar. Not so much in the political context. Maybe something a little more, maybe something a little closer to Woodstock, so to speak. But anyway, just throwing that out there. Just want to plant that idea out there. And just want to let you know that 2024 might be a big year for us. So the channel, the people tuning in, all of that stuff. So again, I said I wasn't going to diatribe, and then there we go. Hey, there we go. There's Mana. Good to see you in here, man. I saw you. I think you shut down your Twitter account, but you're on YouTube, I'm guessing. Thank you, man. Thank you. Good to see you back in here. We came for the party, but stayed for the friends we made. Exactly. Hey. Exactly. We were as young as I once. It does an old man good to remember the times of yesteryear when fear has taken a hold of the youth. Hey, hey. And then we got Zola in chat. Shout out to Zola, very friendly guy. Yeah, there's a lot of lore to get into with Arizona. You know, I'm not gonna reveal anything people don't want aired out, but there was just a lot of funny moments. Of course, we got Charles Thomas. Good to see you here. Happy to jump on. Yeah, of course, man. Bernard from the Twitter Spaces, I recognize. Good to see you in here. Hey, talk about merging the audiences there. How about that? Are you, what is this, starting a live show on a regular basis? No. I'm actually not. You know, I don't want to get people's hopes up. I'm actually not. But I think we're going to be a little bit more active. I know 2023 was a little sluggish, but because of the election year plus some of the stuff I announced, I think we'll be a little strong in the beginning of next year. So stay tuned for that. Yo, Dalton. I didn't even see you in here. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, man. You're probably not here anymore. Yeah, shout out to Dalton. You know, Dalton was the one. I was talking to one of my friends at college about this. He was the one that put on the Tyler Russell, Carson Wolf, Doyle, Kai event. For anybody that remembers that, you can look that up. By the way, the Patriot Coalition we put on this college event. And that's the kind of stuff that I want Zoomers to kind of get in the mindset of, not necessarily like college tier stuff, but that kind of IRL organizing. That's, you know, my friend is really like my gold standard for that kind of stuff. And the fact that he did it, that, you know, that gives me a lot of respect to him in that regard, because a lot of people just weren't. You know, I was talking to some people who were affiliated with some of the CR type stuff, and it's like, yeah, you know, a lot of people just didn't really take initiative after that. You know, that was supposed to be like a call to action, bring the people out. And I know it's difficult, and, you know, people are in college and it's risky. So it's not to say people should be reckless, but, you know, I'm just using that as an example. The fact that, you know, a Zoomer was able to put that on, bring some people, good OPSEC. And it was around that time where Dalton was kind of doing his radio show, Red Bar, the kind of Howard Stern strategy. And we need some more of that. We need some more of like the reactionary radio type content, because a lot of Zoomers, they weren't around during the 90s. It's not personal to them to make content like that. But hopefully people like me, people like Dalton, they're out there doing it. So, you know, that's kind of the ethos of the show, so to speak, is to kind of, you know, maybe a monolithic ethos, so to speak, that you can have that kind of pop culture friendly 90s radio strategy that can organize events. The content can be centered more on culture rather than politics. And the fact that we can have some serious people on, like James Kirkpatrick and others, that are friendly to us while we're putting all this stuff on. So there you go. There's the nice a ribbon tying around all that. That's kind of the pitch for this episode, the channel. You know, we want some of that Zoomer friendly pop culture content, and I think we're going to get it next year. So hey, shout out to Dalton. Shout out to Dalton over on cozy.tv. We got to get Thomas on Cozy, man. I'm telling you. And hey, I think Thomas, as a matter of fact, unofficial, but I think Thomas, you're going to start seeing him in some of these Zoomer currents. So hey, keep on a lookout for that. Some of these guys, Easton Broadcast. Can we pull up his? Let's pull up our people up here. All right, is that okay? Let's get Easton. Where are you at, man? Where are you at? I met this guy. Another winner. This guy was just nothing but like what I would want like a Groiper to be IRL. And, you know, a lot of the people online, they just don't see it. They see a lot of the banter. They see a lot of the Twitter spaces that are very, again, 90s trash TV-esque. But I meet these guys and they're like the gold standard. Okay. Easton Broadcast. Shout out to Easton Broadcast. Can we put his, I know he just did I think he just did a stream celebrating the end of the NJP collapsing. So can we get where's his links here? Do we got links? Hey, where is this guy? Hey, is this enough promo for you? Hey, reel the Easton Broadcast. Okay, get this guy. Check out this guy's content. All right. Can we get his stuff in the chat here? Let's get him in the chat, or let's get his link in the chat. This guy, again, just like the coolest guy to meet IRL. Reminded me of another friend. I don't know if he wants me to say who he is, but reminded me of another friend. Just the energy, the amicability, knowing all the lore. You know, big fan of Thomas. It was exactly what you would want, you know. Perfect Zoomer archetype. But yes, there was another person. There was another moment. I'll get to that later. You know, there was a lot of love for a certain somebody. But let me catch up with the chat over here. Sorry, I'm a little I got Grammarly hooked up to my chat text over here. That's very funny. Anyway, could have some good conversation. Hey, Charles Thomas, I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah. Anytime I can meet people who watch the show, tune into the show, you know, people like Iggy, these guys are just super cool. And, you know, one of the big tones from this conference, obviously we don't really care for the people because they're normie cons, campus conservative types. Not just that. It's not just like, oh, they don't know about Sam Francis and Peter Brimelow. It's not just that, okay? Even if it was Amran on the main stage, you know, something I said in the Twitter space, and I think one prior, the Amran model does not work. The Amran model is limited. And I know a lot of Zoomers, you know, people like Easton, not so much. People like Iggy, not so much. But these Dalton understands this too. You can't just do Tucker Carlson tonight, but Nick's talking points. You know, you can't just do Tucker Carlson tonight, except it's Death of the West instead of Pinheads and Patriots. It's still the same stuff. It's still bourgeois, boring stuff. We need reactionary radio. We need the kind of in the studio, live audience. We need that kind of content. We need too many screens in the room. We need too many stuff in the studio to put on a good show. You know, Howard Stern's New York studio, that's the kind of stuff. People that understand why Private Parts is an appealing film, that's what I'm talking about. But these Zoomers, again, because they were born latter or after the 90s, they don't understand why the 90s were so crazy and why there was so much hype around the media with those kind of types. So it's about integrate. So let's tell them about it. Let's be educational with some of the 90s content. And that's the purposes of channels like this. So again, it's not to fault them. All they saw were Pat Buchanan stuff condensed into TikTok form with people like Jackson Hinkle, Nick. And so it's about kind of reorienting our priorities rather, and getting some of that more 90s trash TV, you know, culture type stuff that they miss. They miss because they weren't born or they were too young. So that's the thing. That's the kind of thing with the tying in Dalton's thing. It's a completely different setup. It's not the same thing when Carson was trying to do his show on Cozy, okay? All Carson can do is the turning point stuff. All he can do is regurgitate the talking points. But I'm talking about the whole model has to be reoriented. It can't be the Amaranth stuff where it's just far-right stuff with a talk show. The whole setup has to be Dave TV. It has to be David Lee Roth. So we'll get there. We'll get there. I think we may have some books that are going to help us out with that. And we're going to get some new citations for the show. So anyways, not to get on a tangent there, but just to make all of that relevant. It's not just like, oh, there's my Zoomer mutual over there. You know, these guys are just they're doing a different medium than a lot of these turning point types. So, but anyways, yo, we got Man in chat. Hey, good to see you, man. Some Kirkpatrick love. What do we got? Orgeson, hey, thank you, man. Thank you so much. That debate over Nick's endorsing style. Yeah, there you go. James Edwards. See, there you go. There's another one. Thank you, man. James Edwards. There's another example. Yeah, and again, that was before my time, so you know I missed some of those characters. But hey, those guys are kind of closer to even Gavin McInnes with his show. Does his show look like Rebel News content? Does it look like Mark Levin and Lauren Southern? It's completely different. It's completely different vibe. You know, that's why he's on Joe Rogan and other people are not. So something to think about. Bringing that Twitter space dynamic into some of these other places. So anyways, we got Swifty in chat. We got an Endernax fan in chat. Good to see you here, man. Can I play instruments? Not very well. I'm gonna try to get some training from somebody. So hey, thank you, man. But thank you, Swifty. Good to see you in here, man. Taking the generational war as satire instead of serious keeps one sane during these times. The book of history won't be favorable to this and last century. Hey, I'm telling you, man. Yeah, these people that think they can set the tone because they're old heads, that's not how it works. That's how people get left behind. If your audience is mostly millennial and you're very hostile to the Zoomers, that is boomer truth. So that's how you lose what made you powerful, when you're cutting off these people that are making waves, when you're saying they're too unserious, they got too much baggage. That baggage is not going to have as much weight when things start to come towards our direction, Overton window wise. So hey, I know a lot of people don't like some of the rambunctious Zoomers, but you know what's really more important: some of this petty squabbling, or so these clicks that these older folks cling to. But anyways, yeah, we'll try to get Thomas. We'll try to get Josh Neal went mainstream. Well, I was just saying as an example, people like Josh Neal, Jefferson Davis, for this channel, we kind of Keith Woods kind of integrated those guys in with, Tyler Hamilton kind of doesn't do as much content in that kind of context, but those types kind of merging into our kind of sphere, those guys who have been around a while, the McSpencer group, pivoting towards like the Zoomers. It's funny, there was that Bat post where he was talking about back in like 2017, it was Spencer who people guessed was going to put out a book, and he was going to be like the intellectual side of the dissident right. And it's funny, back in like 2018, 19, it would have been like a punchline to say, gosh, look how far Spencer has fallen since he was kind of seen as that leading figure. And now, in my opinion, based on orbiting a lot of the Twitter spheres, Spencer is coming up towards the Spencer, or excuse me, towards the Zoomer spectrum. And you see all these millennials still clicked up with the people that they had back in 2019-ish. So you see Spencer kind of not being so competitive over hegemony on the right, and all the other people that are older trying to fight for hegemony still clinging to those clicks and not wanting it to open up to all the other Zoomers. And that's how you lose your audiences. That's how you lose, you could be reaping the rewards of some of the Bandy ADL, Keith Woods, Joel Davis type stuff. And you would also possibly be in some of those bigger type spaces. Not that the Twitter spaces are like an automatic verdict of success, not to make it sound like Twitter is real life, but I'm just using that as an example of who's very active in those kind of spheres and who is still kind of doing the same old Twitter partisan, current event reactions, Scott Greer type content. Who's adapting, who's merging audiences, and who's still kind of doing the same stuff from 2019. Something to keep in mind. But again, not a total millennial bash hour. I'm just saying. These people that are like super, super partisan against the Zoomers. It's not cool. That's why I wanted to get in with some of that AA back and forth on Twitter. But so yeah, it's funny that BAP tweet, oh my goodness, Spencer really fell off. But I feel like Spencer kind of is more in tune with where things are going versus some of these older folks. I know he's kind of an older guy, but he's, it's kind of the opposite with the people that were making fun of him once upon a time ago. Once ago, whatever. Okay. A while ago. All right. How about that? Anyways, so yes, we'll try to make Josh Neal mainstream. Why not? How about that? Josh Neal is, I hear working on another book, or I saw he was working on another book. So yeah, maybe these guys that are putting out some books, Geo, when Geo puts out his art book, maybe we'll get him on the show. Some things to possibly happen. Josh Neal, when he's got his, that's what kind of warmed me up to Josh, was seeing him on Keith Woods with his extremism book. So, stuff like that. All these books that are getting self-published, Passage Publishing, Passage Prize. Maybe that's a good excuse to do the show. That's what I mean to say with the mainstream stuff. But anyways, I'm talking way too much. This is brutal. Anyways, yeah, we got Paul in check. Let's get Paul Allen. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Yeah, Swifty, Valley Zoomer 1. Let's go, man. Let's go. Business cards. Yo, let's go. We got House in chat. House in chat with a very interesting PFP. Anyways, we can get into, now that it's kind of later in the show, we can be a little more looser. There's kind of this fear of, if you say too many explicit things early on, it's easier for the show to get clipped. But if, you would have to know the timestamp to when more explicit or otherwise private things can be aired out. So I feel like now we're kind of past that point, and maybe we can get into some of some fun things. But here, let me catch up with the chat over here. You're 30. Oh, kidding. Okay, I don't mean to like gaslight the audience into like being self-aware of their age. Everybody that's in this chat, there's no issue. I remember Nick said that during his Amran speech. When he's bashing the boomers in 2018, he's specifically talking about people not in that room. So very similar dynamic here. This is not to be too partisan towards the viewers in here. I'm sure everybody here would pull up to an LA event, would not just be waving around their Pat Buchanan books to show how cool they are. But hey, we got Juan in here. Nice to meet you. Oh, yo. Well, that's cool to see, man. Hey, good to see you here again. Yeah, to a great 2024. Yeah, man. Good to see you, Juan. And we got Just Jimmy's, of course. Just Jimmy's, another guy like that Mises guy, and May. These people just get it. These people, maybe they don't know like every single lore of like all these characters that we hang around with. But I feel like it's almost like that woman instinct in high school, you know, trying to sniff out the top dog, who to kind of, well, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't frame it in that direction. That kind of sounds a certain way. Again, it's not like a clout chasing thing. I don't mean it to be in that context. I'm just saying there's some people just kind of have good instincts of who to be friendly with, how to be friendly with people. You know, what's the cheat code? How do you not look like your average Zoomer that kind of gets dogpiled by some of these millennials? You know, what's the, you know, how do you not look like you're so clicked up? And some of people who don't have like followings, obviously it's easier to kind of blend into the wallpaper. But for people like me that talk to a lot of people, like there was somebody who told me, they asked like, "Are you a BAP guy?" And I see why they say that, because, you know, I hang out with a lot of different people. I'm friendly with a lot of types. And, you know, I don't want that to be confused as like disloyalty. I don't want that to be like taking my ball and going towards the winning horse every time. You know, it's just to say that, you know, it's people in the BAP sphere that are doing Man's World magazine, you know, doing some of these zines, pop culture content, some of the, you know, contributing to some of like the dating discourse, getting on some of these podcasts. And a lot of the Zoomers, you know, could learn from that kind of a model, kind of seeing a non-political way of doing politics. That's what I mean by the Red Scare strategy. Because a lot of those types, they kind of do their thing mostly in New York, but it doesn't seem to really extend outward into other states or other types of events. But I mean, I don't know, some of these LA events I think are inspired by stuff like that. And so I think it is starting to go to fruition. And but again, that's not just like a Red Scare thing. That's not a millennial thing. It's not a New York thing. It's a dissident right thing. And so we can kind of see where some people are excelling and act accordingly. So that's what I mean to say. Everybody who watches this show, you know what side I'm on. You know who I shill. You know whose events probably I've been to more so than most of these other ones. So you know who. But you know, to everybody else who wants to pick fights, you know, they don't have to know. They don't have to know. But you guys in the chat, you guys know. But anyways. So yeah, Just Jimmy's, that Mises guy. These are the cool people. I'm gonna meet Just Jimmy's, okay? I'm gonna meet Just Jimmy's IRL eventually. Just like May and all these others. It's gonna happen, all right. How many of you have read Human Action? I actually never read Human Action. I'm sorry to say. I think that would have gone over my head. Yo, Bernard with the Hollabeck recommendations. You know, that's funny. I kind of wanted to check out, you know, I'm not so crazy about his background. But I saw, what is it, Astral. Astral was he was actually very negative towards, I think, that book Atomized. He's like there wasn't a lot of there. But you know, the fact that that's not like a political book, but it talks about like the nihilism and the aftermath of the sexual revolution. You know, those are kind of the topics I'm very that I see kind of ramping up, especially after that LA event with Anna Kay, Louise Perry, Grimes. You know, that's that kind of like pop culture take on these political trends. That's, you know, what are the Gen Z trends? That's where this channel should be going towards. But Ace Rider California. Hey, thank you, man. Thank you, Swifty. Yeah, sorry. I don't mean to ramble, and I don't mean to like flag wave too hard. I'm usually not that kind of guy. I'm usually very timid. I'm the Wojak in the corner. They don't know. I've been to AFPAC this many times. They don't. No, but yeah. They don't know I'm a groiper, kind of a thing. You know, you just say you're a Zoomer. Just say you're a Zoomer, and then you kind of save yourself a lot of trouble. But anyways, I always feel like an out of place Euro. Oh, don't worry, Charles. Don't worry. I love the British. It's just right now a lot of the AA sphere seems to be clicked up, and so I'm meeting a certain type of Anglo archetype. You can imagine. But you're cool, man. You're cool. Not so clicked up. Picanonas and the Democratization series by Scrump Monkey are really good intros to DR Mises takes. Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's funny. I kind of had the Yarvin arc. Yarvin, what's that thing on Skeptical Waves? I think another guy who doesn't really like me because of the AA stuff. See, but see, I would never say like stop checking out Skeptical Waves for that reason, or don't check out the Boomer Truth Regime series for that reason. You know, those are interesting theses that could be adapted by the Zoomers, but you know, I feel like they are boomers as well. They are also victims of their own thesis. But anyways, I already said that. The DR Mises arc, you know, that's that guy I was talking to on one of the last days in Arizona. And it's like, yeah, seeing Pete Canona's radicalization, seeing him move away from kind of the economic, and he mentioned apparently Pete would get into these debates where he was saying the talking points about economic advantages, the libertarian case for not being far right. And so he knows, kind of like Amy Therese, he knows all the talking points, but he doesn't buy it anymore. And now he's more towards Thomas, more towards this historical perspective, dissident right point of view. And so, yeah, Yarvin also, what is it? He has from Mises to Thomas Carlyle, thereabouts, that title. I basically had that arc without reading all the books, but I was a big fan of Rothbard, and I took him serious. I didn't read all his stuff, but I was kind of it seemed like the Mises guys were the only ones where you could talk about subversion on the right. But now ironically, it kind of seems like some of the AA people, the BAT people, they're kind of fulfilling that role of William F. Buckley. Obviously, the politics are a bit different, but maybe not so different as people might assume. They kind of have that kind of gatekeeper clicky thing where they're kind of keeping some of the Zoomers at bay, out of the respectable mainstream politics as they ramp up with their brand. And they say, we're unserious, we're too young, too third worldist, allegedly, all that stuff. You know, haven't been around long enough. I kind of see some of the older guys kind of acting a little bit like the Buckley gatekeeping that made me like a lot of the Mises guys. So somebody like Pete, I don't think he puts up a lot of guff, and he first and foremost wants to be like authentic and want to talk to like more authentic people. And so I think that's something that's alluring with Thomas, and his brand is maybe not so much this like Curtis Yarvin inspired dissident right political thing. It's more just so like non-gatekeepy members of the right. And so it seems like those are the people he brings on his show now. Whereas before it was this very political Mises caucus, not Mises caucus with the memes, Mises caucus like policy type people. So yeah, I think we all kind of had that road to the Enlightenment with some of the libertarian people, ironically. And those are some of the people I think who have less egos in the two-party system because they got gatekept like in the 60s and the 90s. So they have less of like an ego to like, hey, I really want to get in on the right. It's like they have no patience for that kind of dynamic. They've already seen people fight for hegemony, and they don't really want to participate. Very similar to Spencer. Similar thing with Spencer. Not wanting to compete, and so you kind of get this more authentic live and let live attitude with talking to all these different types of dissidents. So that's the difference I noticed with millennials. Clicked up, too much emotional investment, and the Zoomers don't even, the Zoomers want to inherit a lot of the stuff that the millennials kind of fell off from. But anyway, too much. Moving on. But okay, we have some commentary in chat. Does anyone know when will you go full rageaholic? Very good question. We're gonna try to actually. That is kind of funny. We are gonna try to pivot to more of the Razor Fist brand. So hey, that is true. The anti-Woodstock, no hippies, and bathrooms that work. Can't think of a better slogan, man. Thank you, Just Jimmy's. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. More of the punk rock aesthetic with this show. Because the punks were anti-hippies. The punks didn't like all the flower power stuff, liberal stuff. And Johnny Ramone, the English punks that were wearing like swastikas. That like Thomas was tweeting about that not too long ago. I think during my trip, he was doing like the Eddie. Someone was asking him, I think, about Tom Jones. Is Tom Jones the British Elvis? And Thomas was like, no, definitively no. He doesn't have the Eddie Cochran swagger. He doesn't have. It's like that tweet, that single tweet says more about this channel and the direction I want the Zoomers to go in than all this like political Yarvin type talk. But anyways, not to Not to kind of use Yarvin as a punching bag, just that's an example I want to use. To these very politicized historian types. That's not who we are. We are pop culture art critics. That's who we are. Aestheticizing the right. Some Walter Benahim type stuff here. So when Geo comes on the show, we'll be more confident. Millet. Oh yes, I have not mentioned Millet. Speaking of, did my article get put out yet? I actually sent, speaking of Mises, I sent them an article about Millet. And did that get put out yet? What do we got here? Speaking of Mises. Oh, I don't think it's out yet. Shucks. Wasn't it supposed to be today? Let me go on Mises right now. Okay, all right. No hard feelings. No hard feelings. It seemed like today was the day, the 23rd. Well, anyways, I got this article about well, you guys will see. You'll see. We don't have to. It's not like worth rehashing right here, but was working on that article, and we'll see when it gets put out. Check the Twitter to check it out, and kind of a similar commentary of the type of stuff we'll probably get into with the channel. We need to collaborate on 80s metal thing, Ace. Interesting. All right. Yeah, Malay, probably not our guy for maybe a very obvious reason. But anyways, Orgeson, sorry man, I missed your thing a long time ago. Well, good night, man. I know you're probably not here anymore, but good to see you in here. Good Thomas. What is this? This would be a funny clash. Who's if you're still here, clarify. Get Thomas. We'll try to get Thomas on, but if this is for anything specific, let me know. Yo, we got American Dissident, man. Hey, good to see you in chat, man. Ace Rider, California. It's the Ample. This guy, Paul out. Maybe that is, maybe there's something, maybe something there. Thank you, American Dissident. Thank you. Ace and Enternax are like, and Paul and his crew are like, and Dissident really gets it. American Dissident really does get it. But hey, we're all Zoomers, okay? We're all Zoomers, so you can't write us all off because we're all part of the thing. So, don't you see? Don't you see, man? 2024, 777 and Nick will have the official meeting at the Double R Diner. I could not compile a better text in the chat. Thank you so much, man. Thank you, Mana. I appreciate that. Got to wrap my Christmas presents. Hey, by all means, do your thing, man. I don't hate the NJP, not gonna lie. Yeah, well, it's just very funny. It's a very funny. The cowboy tweet. The cowboy tweet. When you define Power Elite as somebody else, I regard that as a loser script. I define the Power Elite as myself and my friends. Bernard. Yeah, who said that again? Is that Schmidt or the Italian school guys? Yeah, conservative. Yeah, is conservative May in the chat? Big if true. If Ace Rider wants us to groip, we will groip. Well, hey, thank you so much. Yeah, no, I don't. I'm not really the type to be super partisan, but hey, I can never disavow the groipers. I can never disavow that energy, that Gen Z archetype. That's the thing. Even if people think it's juvenile, somebody over the week told me, it's some of these Twitter spaces with the Zoomers. It's almost like a Discord chat, and it's like that's what it is. That's what it really is like. So I'm glad she clarified. Yeah, that's why I think it's so polarizing. But hey, I came from Discord. I was a veteran of Discord. That's where I kind of started to figure out some stuff. So all of us that migrated from Telegram, YouTube, we gotta be respectful for where we came from. But anyways. Yeah, sorry, I'm very behind on the chat. Excuse me. Uh-oh. Could I still be a groiper if I haven't taken a picture with conservative May? Yeah, that might be that might be the syllabus. I don't know if you can really say unless you have taken a picture with May. That seems to be the rubric. So be careful. Be careful. Spencer has to move toward the Zoomers because no one older will do this. That is true. So maybe there's a less philosophical reason why, but there is something to that. There is something to that arc, because he went from being, obviously, maybe not willingly, but he went from being that political partisan leadership-esque role to being like this, intellectual, doing his own thing separate. That's kind of what we do. I don't really see this channel as like part of the AA sphere. Well, obviously not anymore, right? But I don't really see, this channel and people like us, we are kind of like floating around. And so that's kind of what Spencer does. And so there's compatibility there. That's what I mean to say. Obviously, you don't have to agree with all his takes, but I'm just saying the personality, though, the personality of getting along and not being so, like an ego guy with all the different, this click matters and this click matters, He's just like a guy. And that's kind of the energy that I think is very more persuasive than explaining all the dirt that someone in the dissident right did that wasn't serious, and how can you defend? Okay, you've already lost me. You've already lost me. Need to talk to Ye. He has. Interesting, man. Interesting. I've been listening to Spencer streams, podcast for a day. Oh wow, Bernard, a real veteran here. Yo, Nolus. Abnormocracy. Hey man, good to see you in here, man. Eternal Contrarian, I wouldn't try. Well, okay. Well, yeah. What do we got? Just want to connect with people on our side and talk about Jesus and heavy metal. Hey, how about that? Now there's the perfect. Text. AFPAC 4, bro. It's gonna happen. Hey, man. Looking forward to it. Looking forward. That's where the real Zoomer archetype is. See, that's where, people want to write off the Zoomers, but then when you go there, you would think, oh my goodness, the biggest Groiper meetup of the year. You can only imagine. And then you go and it's like nice guys all around. So, a little something different. And, not everybody can talk about what it's like going there. So there's that communication barrier. You don't even know. You don't even know some of the Zoomers that are salvageable. So anyways, yo, Don Juan McKenzie, you got this jacket? Well, thank you, man. Yeah, I like it. I like a little too rural for me. I'm a city slicker, but I don't know. I do kind of feel like I'm LARPing a little bit, but hey, it's a warm jacket, so maybe I should be wearing Thomas's leather. Maybe we'll wear that for next year. You think I'm going to take Buckley's spot? Well, hey, we'll see. Human Action is free online. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Don't they have a few free books? What else do they got, Bernard? What are some of the free? What's the Mises archive? Maybe I got to reach out to someone I talked to over the week. People under 30 shouldn't be allowed to use the internet. That might save us a lot. That would save us a lot of drama. If you're going to be on Twitter, you got to be friendly to the Zoomers. If you're not going to be friendly on Twitter with the Zoomers, then don't be online. How about that? Is that a simple rubric? Yeah, great with the PFPs. Yeah, let's go. Ace, can I try out for your band? Well, I don't have a band. But maybe I'll be on stage with a band very soon, Stay tuned. Thomas, what is this? Bad and Rice? He's spurging out about AA at the moment. Oh, is that right? Well, hey, I like this guy already. No. Can we get him on Cozy? Maybe Internax can help. Well, that would be a dream come true, but I don't know. Maybe Paul Allen may. Yeah. No, I'd be happy to. You know what's funny? You know what would be the best benefit of being on Cozy? I can actually play music. So, on YouTube, you got all that copyright business. But Dalton, Tyler, they can just blast their music. Nick, they can just blast. Do you know what kind of content we could do with this channel? I was asking Paul for some help with that edit with James Lindsay, and we can go over that. It's a very quick story, but we can go over that later. But he was helping me with that edit. He did all the work, and to me, like that's how I'm not like a political guy, or I don't really, why I'm able to like get along with people is because deep down, what I really just want to do is like be a DJ, is to be like to kind of compile a playlist and then share it over a stream. Like to me, that's like better content. Like when I was playing Lana at the beginning of the Twitter space, that's almost like the highlight of the space, is to be able to play music and then talk about it over stream. And then maybe we get some people in, like when NJ Gloip joined the stream, that's a better example. When NJ Gloip, shout out to NJ Gloip. Can we get his, let's get his stuff up here. Do I have him in my, do you have a certain app? There he is. That brief interaction with me and him at the latter half of the space, it's like, that's all I really want to do. I don't want to, shout out to NJ Gloit, man. This, again, another guy that gets it. Another guy from the Window Book Cat sphere who can just come into our space and just talk about movies. Like that's what I'm talking about, that energy, that kind of liberal sensibility, that liberal, kind of aestheticizing politics type thing. This guy, he just gets it. He's just a cool, warm guy. And that's more important to me than like reading all of Curtis Yarvin's stuff, figuring out, what's his end game and all that. What did he mean in this article? I don't want to figure that out on stream for content. And I don't want to react to the news. I don't want to talk about Nikki Haley and Vivek. I want to talk about old albums and play them without getting copyright struck. That's what I want. Okay. Is that too much to ask? Why is that so difficult? Oh, I didn't even post this in any of my chats. Man, should I do that right now? Well, I guess it's over on Twitter. Yeah, I guess I could do that right now. Sorry. I guess this is what happens when you don't when you wait too long to do streams. You forget how to do the show, and so you end up learning as you go. Anyways. But yeah, we'll try to get some of the more music critic Lester Bangs type content. It seems like we've been talking about that for over a year, but then we keep getting sidetracked by political news. So I think 2024 will be the year we come into our own. Yeah, thank you, Threadworm. Thank you. Yeah, it's about the low key attitude. That's the winner. The Discord days prepared us for this. That's very true. The Discord days prepared us for the Twitter Spaces. A lot of people can't handle the Twitter Spaces because they're so hostile. But like somebody said in Arizona, it's not a net negative. That's like the boot camp for the Zoomers. So millennials beware. Just chill out. Yeah, maybe that's the oh, are we all caught up? All right, there we go. There we go. Distant Right deep dive on 80s Pantera. Interesting. That might be something. Well, all right. So I think that's well, what could we talk about from Arizona? Because that was such a cool trip. Congrats, Ace, you guys. Yeah, thank you, Bernard. Thank you. It took me a little while. But no, it's good. It's good talking to everybody. It's good meeting everybody. But yeah. So Arizona, Amfest, Turning Point Step. You guys are familiar. The Groiper War. Charlie Kirk is like used to be a nice target. Now he's kind of adopted some of Nick's talking points, seemingly. So maybe the Turning Point is going to become more like Ameren. incidentally, but maybe it won't be the kind of target we think it is anymore. But yeah, so that was kind of very last minute because I didn't have a place to stay for a long time, and my driver didn't want to go because it was supposed to be the same week as AFPAC. And so it kind of became like, well, if you don't really know some of the people there, it doesn't seem worth going. But a lot of people are going since our Twitter sphere is so expansive. There was plenty of people to meet, and I'm glad I did. Some of the Nuance Bro people, if you guys are aware of some of those kind of like YouTube content creator types, Lauren Southern, those kind of people. Remind me to bring up Lauren Southern again, because there was a little incident, not like a hostile one, but just a very funny, again, something to learn from this interaction. But she was very nice, but it was nice to kind of see a lot of people, kind of a who's who at the event. But then you go there and you got, of course, you got Groypers, dissident right, adjacent types, Mises. So you got like libertarians and conservatives. And that might sound very cringe, but because they're both kind of being initiated into this more dissident perspective, it's not like conservatives and libertarians from like 2012. There's a lot of amicability with some more like Groyper adjacent types. So it was cool. It was cool to like go there, and it wasn't super hostile. Of course, cool to see May, Iggy, Zola, Valley Zoomer. Who else? Anna. A lot of characters across platforms. YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. These are the winners. These are the people who know what's up. So it was nice to see everybody. Iggy was streaming it on his YouTube channel. I think it's Ignoramus. And so, you can kind of see some live content live. It's almost like you're there kind of a thing. And we were mostly just like walking around. We didn't really see much of the speeches. I saw a little bit of Tucker. And then I'm going to try to write up some of the Tucker speech and kind of shoehorn it in with some of the art critic commentary. Because, you notice Tucker kind of talks like Roger Scruton now. He kind of has that architecture criticism, and that's the direction the right has to get into. It has to get into aesthetics and maybe psychology, because I feel like that's the more persuasive way to kind of be right wing, rather than the political stuff doesn't work. So what does? Some of this stuff, aesthetics, Goethe type stuff. And I think we're going to be doing some of that next year, and probably some others, incidentally, if people like Tucker are already privy to it. So yeah, saw some of Tucker. What's funny? I think I didn't realize it was Rob Schneider on the stage because he has like his glasses and hat, but I didn't realize that was him on the stage. So I think I wasn't paying much attention, but I think I saw him for like briefly. Which was kind of funny. We should probably have a better celebrity class than that, but that's like one of my few memories from actually going into the actual event, most of which we were just mingling, sponsor hall, VIP area. And even like the VIP area was like all these influencer social media types, Instagram people. And, we can have a better Zoomer class than these like CJ Pearson, base biracial, or whoever's even there. Some of these like Barbie doll types. I don't know. It's just not, this is just so bougie. It's just like a conservative Barbie doll, Tommy Lahren type. And that's what you get when you're just like a political guy. And it would be cool if they were saying like Pat Buchanan talking points instead of whatever, Vivek and Trump. Even if you're like a Trump social media influencer, that's still lame. That's not, Zoomers need better role models, better pop cultural figures in mind. And maybe then they will finally be liberated from these like influencer type gigs. They won't look as kind of sexy, and we'll kind of have our own little vagabond group of people. But anyway, that's to be expected. It's Turning Point, whatever, not a big deal. But beyond that, saw all the people, and then the Lauren Southern thing, that was kind of funny because me and May, we were kind of we were a tag team all over the place. in one Groiper clique, in one, normie friendly clique. This is the power of Twitter. This is the power of that is actual political diplomacy, is to be able to do that. When you're not just completely stranded with certain groups, you're able to just kind of see what's going on everywhere. And so, anyway, too long of an explanation. But we went up to Lauren because she was nearby, and they might have been doing like content because Nuance is always filming. And I think we introduced ourselves. We like shook hands, and I don't think we said anything because I think there was some lore there. There was some lore on the timeline, and I didn't know exactly what it was, but I think may have been a little partisan on the timeline. And so maybe don't come out of the gate with that, when you meet the person IRL. And I don't think it did. I don't think that was ever let on. But then, we're standing there, and I think it was just like a girly moment. And they were like talking about each other's shoes or something, so I'm completely stranded in this dynamic. But then I think Nuance hinted at, by the way, Lauren, in case you didn't know, you're talking to the Groipers over here. And it's like, completely giving us away to Lauren Southern. And then she was like, oh, there was a very like obvious pause, and the whole dynamic started to change. And that is just so funny to like see IRL, because we're not going to start trouble, we're not going to like do the Twitter thing IRL, but it was very funny. Our cover was blown, and then she said something to the effect of hey, wait a second, man. Something like, I got fired from my job for not going to the Middle East. And so I was like, okay, no worries. No, we're not going to join. This isn't like a debate me type scenario, but it was very funny that like, it was almost like she had to justify to us, like, by the way, but it wasn't like a big deal. It wasn't hostile, but it was funny because apparently there was so much lore there. And then the whole, that whole scandal with those two guys, they ran off with the money or something. Whatever, that kind of like organization she was affiliated with, and then there was a big scandal. She said, so she hinted at that, like, you fall for one scandal and everybody writes you off, kind of a thing. But we were not rude and like you would expect. But I'm just bringing that up because it's a very funny interaction that only a handful of people know why it's funny. So, would have been easy to come on here and say, like, we completely groiped Lauren Southern, but, it was just a nice little friendly moment that didn't get too aggressive. And, it was almost kind of like that was kind of the vibe of the whole trip. There wasn't any like violent mogging. And it's funny when it goes that way. It's funny, like, she knows, we know, not on the same page, but just kind of separate thing there going on. But anyway, so that's just like a funny story from Arizona. That's not to like punch down or anything. That's, it's just a funny story. And then there was another moment like that. Who was another? Of course, there's the Rob Smith stuff. I'm sure you guys saw that on the timeline. There's not really much else to say after that, but that was pretty funny to see. He came back in with his phone, and then he went and complained about it with CNN. So it's like, how can any conservative defend? They would say what a lot of the millennials say. Oh, well, this is why the Zoomers are so unserious. You can't even control them in a public setting. And it's like, we got this guy to completely expose like his playbook. So, I don't exactly want to defend a guy, even if like he was less, what would you call it? Like less rambunctious than all the people around him. The guy just doesn't really belong in the conservative movement. So like, I don't think there's any case to be made for all the people that were being so critical. All the Zoomers were so hostile. You know what? He didn't risk his life or anything. So, why can't we just have a little funny viral moment and not have everybody get so serious about the Zoomers for a sec? But anyway, of course, yeah, everybody saw that. And yeah, he went on CNN. So that should be like the framing of the whole thing. What does that say about some of these people in the area? But anyway, the Rob Smith thing was very funny. the other thing I was going to say is when I first met people like Easton and all these other types, when we were walking around the sponsor hall area, it's just so funny that, there was like this one moment where somebody was like almost verbatim, it seems, quoting that Spencer edit video. Everyone was like, "Oh, Spencer, he's just such a guy." The kind of things that get said now that he's kind of welcomed into the Zoomer fold. It was just such a wholesome moment to see a guy who used to be on the outs, just being like very friendly, and like the Zoomers were very friendly, and it would have been very difficult to do this a year ago, but now with the Nick interview that was featured on John Oliver of all places, it's nice that some people are coming around, but yeah, did he have a lisp? No lisp? You're talking about Rob? No, I don't know. I'm not really sure, to be honest. I think he kind of has like a cadence, but I don't know. That might just be his accent or whatever. But yeah, no, it's yeah, a lot of stuff happened since the last show. Was that the Nick Spencer interview, which was very long. People should go and check that out. Very amicable. Even somebody like Mark Brahman, who obviously is not fully one of us, like religiously, he like the way that he handled the whole like Christian thing in that interview, that's just so reassuring. You know what I mean? Because I was messaging him on Twitter. You might be able to find, I think that might still be up. Okay, yeah, no worries, Nollis, no worries. Let me try to find. He was asking like, what do Zoomers and NJP really have to disagree on? And again, that's another one of the generational dialectics, the merging audiences, two camps, kind of talking it out, and that's it's another kind of on-brand thing with what we're all talking about here. Why some of these other movements don't really mesh, and why others do. Anyways, where was this? Let me share my screen here. What do we got? Oh, you know what? Here. Maybe it would be better to just screen sharing was canceled, yeah. But again, this isn't like a huge deal, but yeah, the age gap is a big deal. Yeah, see, that's the thing people don't take into account when they talk about Groypers and people in the BAP sphere. The age gap is a huge red flag. He said, Zoomer shall never have their absence of wisdom disrupted. No, but that is funny. That's funny. But I don't think Zoomer e-celebs want their groups to discover that someone has greater knowledge than them. It's the Daria attitude, talking about the millennials. No more cynicism. The happy nihilists we like, people like Spencer, not the Hitchens types. Even though those are technically the same types, the kind of sardonic Daria attitude, not really the energy we want to capture, even on the Groyper side. It's this fun-loving hippie type archetype that I think is really persuasive. But anyways, that was it's just ironic that was happening. I think like on the second day of the event, that kind of discourse was happening. And then you had a lot of the boxing and trash fighting happening in the Twitter space against Paul Allen. And yeah, it's just very relevant to have, some of these older types that are always trying to signal to their audience, by the way, these Zoomers are bad news. They're not serious. And how are these guys ever going to get jobs, get girlfriends, etc.? And it's just all these talking points are just so stale. They're just not persuasive. And, it's sour grapes. It's sour grapes from people that are not in the kind of Zoomer friendly clique, and they want to signal to their own audience. So, it is what it is. Whatever. Again, that generational perspective has to be brought to the forefront because it's not so much a political thing. They even say, I agree with you guys on 90% of things, but that attitude, if you can't roll with the attitude, then you don't get it. You're the old guy if the young people can do laps around you. And then you go into Twitter space and complain some more. How is that different from the Rob Smith type stuff? Don't worry so much. Don't Surrender the ego, okay? That kind of a thing. But anyway, a social media influencer. Yeah, that'll be the day. That'll be the day. It's over for stale Gen X nihilistic George Carlin types. Exactly. Just, but anyway. No, what else? What else can I talk about? We've been going for about an hour and a half. Saw a bunch of movies while I was gone too. Berserker Energy. Yeah, maybe that's the one, man. While we're on the topic, I saw the what is it? Killer of the Flower Moon, Scorsese film. And it's just like, see, this is what I'm talking about. I think I sent this a little to NJ Gloip, but here's the thing, and maybe we can throw in Napoleon, which I haven't seen, but like boomers that are so compelled by the like dramatic historical dramas, like De Niro and DiCaprio being so serious in a scene, and the tensions rising up because they're like increasing their voices, and it's like that's the big, pearl clutcher. That's the big moment in the scene, is the fact that these two old guys are in each other's faces. There was a lot of that in the movie, just kind of that style. Not there's a lot of stuff happening. There's murder. There's drama. There's history. There's even some like racial commentary. There's a lot of like ingredients for like a good, interesting historical film. But I just like from a Zoomer's perspective, and the fact that like the like filter of the film is so like Christopher Nolan, it doesn't pull me in aesthetically. And then the drama between these two like Hollywood legends, it's just not there anymore. It's not, I'm not going to say it's like it's not like a terrible film, but it's just like, it was one of those moments where I'm there and I know I'm not going to remember some of these scenes. I know I'm not going to rewatch it immediately. And that just that's what NJ Gloip and I were kind of talking about with some of these, like Napoleon. It's just not like that's what old people like. Old people like big actor from when they were young doing this big topic that we're not really interested in. And it's Zoomers that are more receptive to like Barbie. Now, maybe you don't like Barbie, but that kind of like aesthetically pleasing film is closer to like getting it than this really bourgeois, we're going to talk about the natives and this crime that you didn't know about that got shoved under the rug in the history books. Put aside the political stuff, it's made by liberals, sympathetic to the natives, anti-white. Who cares? That stuff is bad, but like they have nothing else besides that. They have no style. It's just like a raw story. And so that's why, yeah, Top Gun, exactly. Top Gun Maverick is aesthetically pleasing. It's still boomer, but it's aesthetically boomer, okay? It's not like Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA. That's like aesthetic for those types, but I'm not a blue-collar guy. That's not my crowd. If you can, I'll even give that like a pass because it's kind of like a full cylinder thing. But like the fact that the drama, the historical dramas are so stale, you got all these Westerns nowadays, like the Yellowstone type stuff. I'm just not interested in like the Wild West, just the show or the film. I'm not interested in like this really obscure story from way back when. If you're not going to give me like this Lynchian, artistic, avant-garde type thing, no matter how big the production is, like Napoleon, it's still just not, Zoomer friendly. So, if we can just kind of understand aesthetics and be more well-rounded in it, see it as kind of closer to a science than this kind of side note. So then maybe I'll be able to articulate why things like latter Scorsese, it made me like The Irishman a lot better watching this one. Even though that's kind of the same thing, so it's kind of hard to make that case. But, it's just, boomers really like that. They like the kind of close-ups. This is a really dramatic scene. And maybe because I'm a Zoomer and people like us watched like Live Leak videos and saw gratuitous violence online, this kind of like boomer standoffish stuff, Old West style cliches, they don't really hit, even if we're talking about like a very historical person or event. I just feel like that's not compatible with the Zoomer archetype. So anyway, I don't know. That's not very concise or compelling. We'll have to develop that a little bit more. But wasn't a big fan of the Scorsese film. And then what else? It's just whatever. But anyway, you know what I did like? What I did like, and this might be controversial given the subject matter, but it's close to the show, so maybe not so much. I did kind of like or well, I don't know. I thought it was very interesting the Priscilla movie. Now I know that's Sofia Coppola, and a lot of us don't want to give her a pass after her style, but that's kind of the whole thing. Like Marie Antoinette, this very aesthetically historical film, that I think is a lot closer. That's what I mean by Barbie. Barbie's a bad example because it's a very mainstream example. Why is something like Marie Antoinette? Why does that really speak to women? Why does that speak to young women? What is the Coppola romanticism? What is this very girly style that is also kind of compelling on the film critic side? I thought Presley was very, very interesting. And maybe it's because we talk about Elvis a lot on the show. But, even that can have like not a lot of drama, not a lot of story. And it's just kind of like, it's just about a person. And you can have that go on and on. And it's kind of a mirror in a way. The fact that it is like a younger person. And then, towards the end, it's kind of this more growing up, coming of age lesson. But regardless of that, it's a movie about a young person and growing up in the world during the 60s. And that's a lot more relatable than a lot of these like action-packed historical dramas. So and aesthetically, you had some Ramones in the soundtrack. Marie Antoinette had Susie and the Banshees. See, this kind of aesthetic is really conducive to people like us over here, I think, on the show. I know it's girly, though. It's very e-girl friendly. It emboldens certain types that maybe some of us don't want to defend publicly. But I'll defend it publicly. I will defend some of the e-girl aesthetics publicly. It's a difficult thing to do, but they understand some things. They understand some of this persuasive aesthetic stuff, art critic stuff. And we'll try to contextualize it in a more right-wing way. We'll try to say it in a lot fewer words, because I know this is a little rambly. But yeah, I know the Presley film. Gerdusky didn't like that one so much. Sorry to say, but that's all right. That's all right. We'll try to have the playbook down by next year, or at least towards the end of next year, so that when we finally get some films that are closer to like a Zoomer compilation, we'll be able to defend them in a lot less vague language than right here. But you got punk in the soundtrack. You're not just like putting Elvis on. I think she couldn't get like the rights to the song, and so there was like some drama there potentially. But it was just a very 20th century film. In the context of Elvis's life, young person coming of age, not your conventional soundtrack. The Coppola angle. There's a lot there. The girlies are a lot closer to the Zoomer archetype. Maybe not the e-girls, but some of these other ones, these directors that have come about in the last few years. Maybe the Baz Luhrmann is a little too theater kid friendly. The Sofia Coppola is kind of this kind of dreary, post, no, I don't want to say post, but like a millennial friendly, Zoomer friendly, kind of emotional take on a lot of these other things. But not an endorsement, not a full endorsement, but I think she gets it. She gets it a little closer than some of these other bigwigs that everybody hypes up. And maybe I just want something simpler, something, like Dazed and Confused, and a lot of these road movies, American Graffiti, just these hangout movies. That's a lot closer to the vibe than some of these. We're going to talk about this big topic and we're going to try to get all the details right. Not interested. I'm a art critic, not a historian buff, different genre. But anyway, playing it straight just doesn't pull me in. I want style. Yeah, there you go. And maybe that's where the Baz Luhrmann version is, the fact that it's not so historically accurate and it's playing with some of that theater kid aesthetic. I think we were talking about the theater kid, right? Not in the Rob Smith context, but like theater kid as in just go-getters, sensational, show business friendly right wingers. Where are they? Where are they? Maybe that's the better way of saying it. But yeah, then there was this one guy who, I mean, I was just talking about Kanye with just this one guy, and I didn't even expect to get wrapped up in that conversation because I'm not even like I'm not very like well versed in a lot of his discography, but he was catching me up to speed, and so we were able to have kind of that like musical talk. And it's like, that's what I'm talking about. That's why I come here, is for stuff like that, not to like red pill the normies or whatever. So again, another instance, things like that I'm going to remember way more than some of the other people I met. But people were super nice. Oh, and then the James O'Keefe party. I guess that's kind of the big elephant in the room. There was kind of this after party thing upstairs, long line, and took a while to get in, but then we go into this after party. And again, me, even though I'm kind of like trying to be the art critic, aesthetic type, there's also a bit of an obstacle with some of these other people that are a little more enthusiastic than me. These people that pull up to like these nightclubs, and these people that are all over the dance floor. I'm not quite there yet. I'm not exactly completely there, but I was there on the dance floor in the building of this place. I think it's called the Musical Lounge. I forget. It starts with a P, the name of the place. And that's not really my comfort zone. That's not really where I thrive. But that night, surprisingly, it was a lot of fun. I didn't expect that to be kind of the highlight of the trip, because it was James O'Keefe's operation. A lot of his college normie types were around him, and surprisingly, our people were there. And I mean, there's like hookahs on the tables, and this is not my scene. Even though we talk about doing the hippie legacy ride in the '60s and American culture, I put the brakes on for all this other stuff that people indulge in. But surprisingly, and I didn't indulge, by the way, but surprisingly, being in that room with all these kind of younger people, that was really, that was surprisingly fun. And, maybe I would have stayed away if I wasn't in the area and I just heard about it. But the fact that I was there and I checked it out, other people wanted to go, surprisingly fun, surprisingly, somebody associated with this channel was welcomed onto a dance floor. I don't want to completely think about it too much, but maybe some of these nightclubs aren't so bad. I don't want to completely absolve that kind of a scene, but surprised how much fun a lot of these college types really have, because I usually avoid it for obvious reasons, but was surprisingly fun, and everybody was loose. That was the other thing too, for another obvious reason. But everybody was very talkative that day, and so that's, maybe I kind of understand where the hippies are coming from, where it kind of takes the edge off to be in a room with people that aren't super uptight after going to some political thing. Maybe that is like a good recruitment zone. Maybe you don't have to dance, you don't have to indulge in all this other stuff, but you know what, it was fun being there, and that was some of the fun conversations were there in that building. So I would never be caught in most nightclubs, but that night things were different. I don't know what happened, but anyway, that's kind of a normie moment there. But I mean, James, for those of you that are following me on Twitter, there's video evidence of me being there, and maybe not like my proudest moment or my best environment to be in, but I just want to report back that was really something. I came out of it unscathed, and if you had asked me at the top of the year that I would end up in a place like that, I would have said disavow. No groiper should ever be in a nightclub. Well, I don't know, man. That was kind of interesting. But anyway, yo, hey, speaking of, NJ Gloip, can we get Can we get another shout out here? Where's the speaking of NJ Gloib? I was just talking about some of the stuff we were rehashing. Where's where's your thing over here? Yeah, shout out to NJ Gloib. What the NJ Gloib? There we go. Shout out to NJ Gloib. Shout out to the American Book Club, bookclub.org. This guy just gets it, man. This is the guy. But anyways, shout out to NJ Gloib and his Twitter account. But anyways, I'm trying to think if I missed anything. Yo, No Name, did you just come in here? Oh, no, that was on Twitter. But anyways, do you dig any Grateful Dead? No, not really, to be honest. I mean, unless you can give me the red pill. If you can recommend a song in chat, maybe I'll go check it out. The nightclub always reminds me of Black Ops 2. That's very funny. I forgot about that. What was her name? Wasn't her name Kai? Wasn't the woman you have to take, wasn't her? That's pretty funny. Yeah, I was behind enemy lines. James O'Keefe busting it down. I was impressed. The guy's got moves. You know, maybe the James O'Keefe Theater Kid Wright stuff, it's actually closer to this Red Scare strategy, aesthetic, psychoanalysis, dissident stuff. It's actually a lot closer to the art critic than Charlie Kirk, Daily Wire types. So maybe, you know, we can make fun all we want, but he's actually maybe closer to us than we imagine. 69 album? All right. I'll check out some of that. Thank you, B. Appreciate that. Man, I don't know who that is. Kim? I don't even know the lore. Jake Lloyd is like young Anakin. Do you mean Anakin B? Listener should take it. Hey, thank you, Jake Lloyd. Yeah. I need to kind of stop the autopilot here. I got to stop. I'm trying to like remember stuff off the cuff. And so I'm having a little trouble enjoying this this stream right now. So I got to try and I got to try to wind down here as we get our 2-minute point. Okay, thank you, Record Deepness. Kim Simmons. Okay, let me look this up. Kim? And try to remind me what else has happened since I've been gone. Where's the musician? Kim. All right, guitar player, Welsh. Oh, wait a second. Maybe I've seen some of this. Interesting. And what was the Brown, you said? Interesting. Is this like a Roy Gallagher? Oh, okay, this is his band. English blues, founded in the 60s. Interesting. No. Maybe I got to catch up with this. No, thank you, man. This is you guys know your stuff. I appreciate that. Yeah, man. Help each other out here. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Nice, man. Nice. Well, what else? What else has happened? Priscilla, the Sofia Coppola artsy types might be closer to us, even if from a different perspective. Scorsese. What else? What's something that's happened maybe in like the dissident spaces? Obviously, Autumn Groiper's been very active. Oh, I guess the Darren Beatty thing. Yeah, did you guys see this? What tab was that? My bad. Here, let me live the leave, excuse me. Where's the Darren Beatty thing? Let me go to my history. There it is. Since I'm kind of wrapping up college, well, the bachelor's part, at least. Maybe this is a appropriate opportunity. Did you guys see this one? Yo! Shout out to Brandon. Let's go. My best friend. Always happy to have him in the chat. This guy taught me more than he knows. Good old Brandon. Really was the beginning. Meeting Brandon really was the beginning to getting into this art critic side. I used to be very political. He used to be kind of just partisan, clicked up. And then after I met Brandon, I started to really try to stretch out my legs. And so he deserves the credit for that. He deserves going to college, getting more social, getting more white-pilled. All of that is Brandon. So, hey, shout out. Can we get some 07s in chat for the man himself? This guy's one of my heroes. So, what was... okay, is it gone now? Oh, my goodness. Well, anyways, what was that guy who got, like, didn't get accepted even after his 1400 score? And then somebody, what did this guy say? White males need to accept that trade school is literally their best option, allegedly. Being a plumbing is a great way to become a millionaire. And you save $250K tuition 4 years. And then Darren Beatty jumps in. Ridiculous to suggest that kids scoring 1460 SATs should become plumbers. Defeatist ideology that prides itself on rejecting elitism and embracing downward mobility is not going to attract talented people. So, while we're on the topic of college, that's just a brilliant takedown of all this blackpilling with the colleges. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. The liberal woke colleges. I got to steer clear and be a nobody with my average job. But now I think kind of the Gramsci strategy, you got to think about who are going to be the Zoomer intelligentsia force, like a lot of the alt-right people. Brimelow, Taylor, Spencer back in 16 and 17. Who's going to be the intelligentsia side of the dissident right? In spite of people on 4chan, Twitter, Paul Allen types, who are the other people like Keith Woods and Lucas Gage? Those, it's about thinking of it from that perspective. You might not like some of the more partisan ones showing up in your comments. But like Scott Greer, you just got to take it on the chin. If you get ratioed by some of the younger guys, you can still be an ally with those younger guys. You just got to prove you're not going to get your feelings hurt. I saw Amy's been very, very combative with some of the Zoomers in her comments. Take the Scott Greer playbook, man. Just let it ride out. Don't worry. The way you make yourself as an enemy is when you double down and say, by the way, this clarifying this. Another tweet, that's not how it's done. That is very boomer. That's the boomer instinct to clarify and make sure you're not being made fun of. You just gotta be, take the hit when the hits come, do your thing. That's what Scott Greer does. But I know it's a difficult thing. It feels like the whole world is yelling at you. So you want to go in there and have a counterpoint. The Groypers do it too. But, there's a cheat code there. There's a cheat code to disarm the crowd. But anyways. But yeah, college, look, man, get into higher education. Try to be try to be a Curtis Yarvin type, but not the commentator. Be in academia and find your people, find your friends, frame it the right way. Make your money, and don't just settle for some of these jobs because the institutions have allegedly been taken over. This is the defeatist. You want to be an elitist in the right wing sense, and a lot of these people on Twitter are like, oh my goodness, they want to be the proletariat types. But anyways, typical stuff. What else? What else should I talk about, guys? Don't let me leave and forget something. I need to wrap up the content. I got to go meet somebody. I got to go meet somebody who might still be in this chat. So, hey, Nolis, good timing, man. Good to see you, man. What else has been happening? I mean, I know a lot of the spaces have been kind of redundant. That's where some of the older folks are right. Can't use the spaces as a rubric for success always. But yeah, what else? What else has been winding down? November, December. What's been happening? Let me go through my camera roll. That'll be how we do it. Let's do the months. What else has been going on? What else? And remind me in chat, because we might be winding down here. But it's good to see you guys again. Gosh. I saw TSO. That's right. I saw TSO in concert, and it seems like the first place they stop is in my area, so that's kind of funny. But yeah, TSO, merging heavy metal with classical music. There's a good article to be had there. The merging, tying heavy metal as part of the classical tradition makes it seem less like a hobby and less like an edgy thing. And, soccer moms that'll go and show up to a TSO concert, maybe they could get into Shrapnel Records and some of the LA type shredders. There's a lot of potential there. But hey, that's a great show. And the merging of audiences, the kind of holiday season, normie types, and then the people that are there for the heavy metal lore. So really TSO, another example of this channel's brand, that kind of unlikely merging of seemingly opposites. Yo, Trouble Armstrong in here. Let's go, man. Dissonant right-wingers not adopting old Marxist tendencies challenge. Yeah, sorry about that record deepness. Yeah, I know Carlsbad tried to remind us, but But I mean, what Gramsci's trying to do with talking about culture, even some of like Adorno and the kind of cultural Marxist types, they're what's cringe about it is that they were loaded up with Nietzsche and Foucault, but that doesn't mean right wing people should not do that. I mean, I guess calling it like Nietzschean is what makes you link arms with people that are on your opposite. But the culture war does seem to be the place where we are more effective rather than these political pundit gigs. Not everyone's going to try to be a Blaze contributor, Fox News type, Turning Point ambassador. So what's in it for everybody else? Well, everybody's tuning into podcasts. Everybody's, watching stuff at work. Why not give them like a Pete Canones type show, a Thomas type show? So it's Gramsci in that kind of version. You're kind of taking advantage of all the platforms. You're looking at all the different institutions as, potential places to build that bridge. So I don't know. Would you consider that record deepness? Would that be like a Gramsci thing? Maybe just using his name is the cringe part, but all the lessons from reading like someone who has read the prison notebooks, maybe that's the way to think about it. But yeah, I know it comes across like Pedro Gonzalez, oh, you're adopting right-wing Marxism. But I don't know. You guys fight that one out. You guys tell me if I'm off with that. Gosh. What else? What else has been going on? Oh yeah, the James Lindsay thing. Yeah, James Lindsay. I saw him, and I think one of my friends was making fun of him. And I was sitting there thinking, like, I might be able to get some content out of this. So I went up and I took the picture, and I told him something to the effect of, what was it? You don't. Well, record deepness. Clarify your point while I'm trying to figure out this story with the Gramsci thing. Develop that some more for me in the comments. But I went up to him and I asked him something like, you got to debate these guys about Schmidt, kind of making it ambiguous. Am I Am I trying to like egg him on, like I'm in that side, or am I seeing all the stuff that he's debating and I'm kind of like a spectator, keeping it ambiguous for him in that context. And he said something like, "Oh man, I can only take so much. I can only debate so many people about Schmidt." And that was kind of funny. That was like, if you know, the Schmidt edit for thanks to Paul Allen. I'm glad we got to have a little dissident right meets the alleged Hegelian historian James. I almost said James Murphy. What's his name? James Lindsay. I almost said Kirkpatrick. James Lindsay is his name. So small little moment, not really much content, but again, kind of a similar Groyper dynamic. We're out there. The James Lindsay skeptics, they exist. But Razorfist would probably accuse our side of being cut from the same. Yeah, see, that's the thing. Yeah. Because we're not like Jackson Hinkle types. It's not MAGA communism. I mean, because their interpretation is that, fascism is part of the modern project, which it is. But, they can't even legitimize those like far right ideas because they want the historical development to be like on their side. So I don't know. It is kind of a difficult question. I guess we would have to refer to the Paul Godfrey book. Fascists and communists are both technically socialist, and they're both kind of doing the same thing weirdly. So I guess they're both kind of modernist projects. But I don't know. I know Thomas argues the NSDAP is Aristotelian, and there's kind of a nullity thesis to be had there. So I know it's just kind of the semantics of it. It's a little tough. And I kind of go back and forth. I don't know. You guys tell me what's the right way for a far right person to talk about culture without sounding Marxist, without sounding like Adorno, Gramsci? What would you call that? Just like anti-modernist? All the art critics seem to be cut from the modernist cloth. So like, how would you differentiate yourself from the Marxists who do it from a left-wing perspective? It's a tough thing. So, yo, Todd man, 67. Good to see you here, man. I don't know. I feel like I've been rambling too much. I guess it's appropriate to ramble after being gone so long. But hopefully this was decent content. Hopefully you guys, for the last episode of the year, 2023, and we'll try to pivot more pop culture in the years to come. Talk about beauty and truth. Yeah, okay. So maybe the Roger Scruton, Goethe school of thought, citing those guys rather than all these others. I know seems like some of the romantics are a little subversive too, so we got to be careful with that. The Renaissance people, subversive too. So, kind of similar lanes, but maybe make it more clear your religious background, your religious identity. Maybe develop that some more. It's more referring to the proletariat. Oh, the plumber talk. Excuse me. Sorry about that. No. I didn't mean to. Yeah. No. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, we don't want to be the proletariat in that context. Yeah. Okay. Clarification. Arthur Quan Lee? No, I don't think so. Let me look that up. You guys are giving me stuff to look up. Remember, was it Vingel who told me to look up, what is it, Ace of Base, that Swedish pop band? Is that what they're called? Arthur Quan Lee? Oh, okay, here we go. Yeah, that was the other thing too. That guy from Mises, who was like my favorite guy to meet on the whole trip. Seriously, we were walking outside the Sheraton hotel, and thank you, Todd, man. Thank you for that. And I'm kind of admitting, even though I want to be this art critic type, I'm not really privy to all the architecture criticism because to me that's like a different genre. I like the film and music stuff. And he was just kind of pointing out, like I think his first example was the Hilton Garden Inn across the street. He's like look at that building. You see how it has character. You see how it kind of has its edge towards a purpose. It's got all these distinctive features. Now think about your average cubicle and how it's like meaningless, no distinctions. Think about that dichotomy. You see kind of a political dimension, a philosophical perspective, even with like a building. And I know that's like 101, art critic, art museum attendee type, but it's cool to just like walk around the city, no schedule. And he's just like, hey, by the way, let's just kind of clarify a couple things. We were talking about some historical stuff earlier, and some historical stuff earlier, and then I think some of the Mises stuff vaguely. We got into the Pete stuff later on that night, but the nice little middle ground was he was trying to kind of red pill me on some of this Roger Scruton type stuff. So I got to give Scruton some more credit. I know he's more of a normie con, but the fact that he was basically like taking me out on a night into the town. Those are the people I go out here to meet. Not these Turning Point ambassador business card types, as somebody said in chat. But anyway, I just want to give some more thank yous, some more credit, because that was my guy. That was my Zoomer who just really got it all the way around. Christopher Alexander's theory on building design. Okay, yeah, give me some stuff. Give me some. I know Anna Kay. Maybe it's not really good optics to cite the Red Scare girls as far as the art critic knowledge. But, for what it's worth, Anna Kay seemed like cut her teeth in college, like an Ivy League type setting, with all this architecture criticism, the Russian artists. So, for what it's worth, I feel like a lot of people don't really talk about that side of the Red Scare crowd. It's all these very millennial wine ant types, but, kind of an obnoxious Lana stands. But, I would like to think there is potential for this kind of intellectual side to the Red Scare scene. The people that are actually reading Christopher Lasch, which, by the way, I finally did that this year. I feel like that's really the pivot. This year, I first started reading Christopher Lasch. Me and my dad would go to these college basketball games, and I would pull up the PDF on the phone. And, it's just, it's really like a psychological art critic refutation of all these like political movements or all these scenes or all these trends. And it doesn't sound like some stodgy conservative, some even like a far right Amran type, or a more mainstream friendly Roger Scruton type. The fact that Lasch kind of has this legacy, it's kind of a nice way to talk about a lot of these trends without sounding so political. And so maybe that's kind of the way to talk about a lot of these topics on the channel. Elsewhere, he's like a mainstream friendly source, when maybe deep down you're thinking of all those 4chan threads that red pilled you. You know what I mean? But that was the other way. That was the other way that kind of got me into like the Mises side of things. Is those were like safe authors. I know Rothbard has said some interesting stuff, and there's maybe some baggage with some of the Mises caucus, but the fact that they weren't like this banned book that you couldn't really cite in public space, looking for some of those more mainstream friendly citations. Maybe that's another reason that got me here, and we're able to kind of be more academia friendly. And so you could have this conversation with liberals, with professors, but then still stay true to your radical roots, so to speak. So, but anyway, too rambly. But can't post comments to some destination. Oh, okay, that's probably in reference to the Twitter. But all right. Well, hey, thank you for Christopher Alexander, Todd, man. Thank you, Todd, man. I don't know what else, guys. Is that a wrap? Should I go get some food? Should I leave the house? I think I should. Well, that's that, man. End of 2023, we started off getting suspended, and then we came back, and then the IRL Twitter stuff started to ramp up. And so this was really like the year of Twitter Spaces put into real space in LA and Arizona. It was a fun time meeting everybody in Arizona. If anyone here who I met or saw anybody there, I want to say thank you again. You guys were, a lot of people they don't see how friendly the Zoomers are. They don't see how friendly the Grapers are. And so they don't know. They don't know. So to more IRL events, to more dissident organization. And what else? What else? Did I miss any like November type stuff? Let me do one last round before we wrap up shop. If you guys got any more questions. But yeah, stay tuned. Stay tuned for January. I think we're going to have some content. What do we got here? Check my search history. All right. All right. Well, if that's that, to any college graduates, I guess that's another angle. To any college graduates, maybe this was your last year. Maybe this was your last year, and so another congrats. But yeah, we'll be around. We'll be around in the Twitter Spaces. Get on. What is that? Buy Bitcoin. Get on. All right. Well, thank you, Todd, man. What else? So yeah, we'll be in the Twitter Spaces. Stay tuned. Stay tuned to the Twitter Spaces. We're more active on there than on YouTube. We're going to be trying to put out some content in January, February. Might be going to another IRL event in February. Might be hosting a big shindig in the South. If you guys are near the Tennessee area, just throwing that out there. We'll see about details, but I've been talking, been some stuff that might turn into something. So we'll see. This might be a big year for the channel, and maybe some of these people that are hosting things on the West Coast and East, maybe we're going to try to put our hat in the ring. So that's that. So January, we'll try to have some content. We'll try to get Thomas back. And that's 2023, man. What a great year. What a great year. Pivoting away from politics, getting into the aesthetics, art critic stuff. People should be developing not their political identity, because we've been doing that. We're done with that. We've maxed out on that. We don't need to read any more Curtis Yarvin articles to figure that stuff out anymore. We're going to try to get into our more cultural roots, we should be trying to develop our religious identity, pivot towards that. And some of the political content on here might be more toned down to make room for the culture critic, Rolling Stone magazine type stuff. So we'll try to get into some of that next year. We'll try to interview some people with overlapping topics next year, probably January, February. And so that's that. Thank you guys. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate it. Seriously, you guys make the show worth it. And everybody have a great Christmas. Go see your families. A happy new year. That's the phrase. We'll be going into this new year. And I'm very optimistic. Stay white-pilled. Things are looking up. And yeah, I'll see you guys next year and on Twitter. Take it easy, guys.